Haven't watched a lot of TV outside of children's TV. Seems to be a pattern. But we have been watching Mindhunter season 2. It premiered on August 16th, I believe. It's been a while since we've seen our cast of characters in this show. Season 1, and Netflix dumps it all at once. There's no, although they're looking to move to weekly, which I don't know. I prefer binging just because that's the kind of personality I am. I like to binge. Would you like one drink? No, I want 1,000. So the season 1 premiered October 2017. So it's been a while. It's been almost 2 years. And I'll say this: when you do have the binge-worthy shows, you pump them out in like a day or like a week at the most, and then you go a year, possibly even 2 years before you get another season. Can we get better recap videos, dude? Netflix, whoever produces binge series, give us a better recap. You can't recap an entire season that's been off the air, hasn't been around for 2 years in 2 minutes, dude. Give us I'm okay with a 10-minute recap. Give me a 1-minute recap per episode from season 1 in a somewhat cohesive, entertaining manner. Don't give me a trailer for season 1. I've already seen season 1. I just need little reminders, dude. The recap videos have got to be better. I mean, I'm complaining. I got a silver spoon in my mouth. I'm being spoiled, but because at least they offer recap videos. Just be better at it. It's constructive criticism. So I was completely lost. I mean, because the recap video did nothing for me. Just like the season, Stranger Things season 3, like the season 2 recap. You're like, I still don't know. I completely forget who that kid's name is, and you're playing the first episode, you're just playing catch up. And if you're with someone like my wife who loves to ask questions, and I love her to death, and I do not want her to stop that because it's a very nice personality quirk that I love, but she likes to ask questions like, who is that again? What's happening? Oh, he's doing what? Who's this? And it's just like, so episode 1 is a lot of pause, answer, play, pause, answer, play. Episode 1 takes about 10 hours to get through. But once you do that, it's good. And Netflix, you could solve that if you just gave us a better recap video. Anyway, so I completely forgot that Holden Ford, our man, which Holden Ford, by the way, looks exactly like Dennis Reynolds from Always Sunny. I can't get that out of my head. Kylie Minogue, 2001. Cannot get it out of my head. He looks exactly like Dennis Reynolds. And knowing what happened with Dennis Reynolds in Always Sunny, how he started off as like, he's this charismatic, handsome guy. And then he slowly descends into madness. And you see that he's actually like a sociopath / psychopath. I feel like that is going to happen with Holden Ford. Like he already has that kind of demeanor of being he feels and looks like the guys he's interviewing, the serial killers he's spitting cues at. I'm like convinced that's going to happen. He's going to be like, it all makes sense now, and just start murdering everyone. So I forgot that he like has panic attacks because of Ed Kemper. And he's got a new boss, and then you find out the old boss did not retire voluntarily. He was forced to retire. The new boss reminds me of, he's got like a Lex Luthor type thing going on with the bald shaved head, but he looks exactly like the actor from Californication. I think I didn't really watch the whole series, but like the shaved bald head who like is always like, and I was expecting this and I didn't get it, but like the character in Californication was always like not like a really that no offense, but he's not going to win Sexiest Man Alive. No offense. But he was always like quick-witted and cracking jokes, but also like having sex and swearing, and it's Californication. So I was expecting that from this new boss, even though it's a totally different actor. I think it's not the same actor, but I'm like sitting there like, oh, here comes the wisecrack, and here comes him getting a BJ, and it's like, no, dude, get out. So I have all these other shows infiltrating my psyche as I'm trying to enjoy a murder. Jesus. And And what I love about this series are the little vignettes where they show you glimpses of the BTK Killer. I love that. I don't love it, but I think it was episode 1, episode 2, where they show him doing autoerotic asphyxiation, and like, you know, in a very interesting. I never thought about the way he did it. I was like, oh, you always picture it like there's a belt and there's a closet where the hangers are, like that thing, and like that's where it's gonna happen. But he like did the doorknob and like leaned forward, and he's like looking at photos of his victims, and he's wearing like lingerie, and my wife just did not know what was going on. Like, what is? Oh, he's trying to kill himself. And I'm like, no, not quite. I mean, he could by mistake for sure, but he's not trying to on purpose. It's autoerotic asphyxiation. And then you explain to your wife why you know that. Luckily, I didn't even have to explain to her. She's like, oh, okay. Like, that's, yeah, I can see why you would know. It's like, why didn't you ask me how I know that? Yeah, so they interview Son of Sam, which the guy they got to play that, I think that was, I later found out was makeup and prosthetics, but he looks exactly like Michael Berkowitz. So it was interesting. That was an interesting interview. I got a lot out of that. But the moment that guy got chills. So, you know, my reviews, the non-spoiler review is, watch it. You know, if you haven't watched it, watch it. These are for like people who've seen it, so we can just talk about it. Hey, have you seen it? Yeah, great. That's how conversations go with me. Have you not seen it? I don't know what I can really talk about. I'm going to give you a lot of vague bullshit that like will try to make the show sound intriguing, but without giving you details, it just kind of sounds like I'm dancing around the issue. And it's like, maybe that'll get you interested. I don't know. When you can talk details, that's when you can really appreciate a series. So I'm just going to talk spoilers. So like, get over it. Look at the timestamps. That should be the name of the show, by the way. Timestamps. But I got chills when. Okay, so At Home, Bill Tench. By the way, Bill Tench. What a great name. Because you can. His last name is like the combination of tension and clench. And it looks like he's clenching and has tension the entire show. Even when he's somewhat relaxed and is like drinking and sharing stories about crazy stories from his work at the party, there's still like something that's got him, you know, is holding on to him. It's the tension, and he's clenching. Tench. I mean, great name. Is it a real guy? I don't know. You know, I don't get too deep into it. I don't know that I want to get too deep into it. But so his home life with his wife, which there's been some, you know, my Cass, my wife, always seems to empathize for the wife. You know, in The Sopranos, she empathizes with, I already forgot her name. Jesus Christ. Carmela. Carmela. Jesus. Wow. So she always seems to empathize with the wife. And so with this wife, you know, she gives the more rope, more leash, more leeway to the wives than she does the husbands, in my opinion. IMHO. So the wife is like, you can tell she's just pissed that Tench is not at home to be with their kid, who I didn't realize was their adopted son. Completely forgot about that. Would have been a nice reminder in the recap video. So the kid's like having trouble. And that's why, like, before I realized the kid was adopted, and not to say this is commonplace with all adoptions, but like, I thought, okay, so this is a natural born kid of the son of the, you know, Bill and his wife. Why is his relationship with Bill so weird? As if they are strangers, or as if Bill did something incredibly traumatic to this kid. That's what that dynamic feels like. And then you find out he's adopted, and is like, I guess that makes a little more sense. You know, you don't always feel as close as you would with your birth parents. I don't know. So that's what threw me off. But then the wife's all over Bill about, like, you know, you got to be here. This kid is about to go off the rails. And then you have the cop come and he's investigating a death, and you slowly find out, oh, it's the son. The son's not directly responsible for it, but he's the one who like suggested this that actually prevented the kid from living. You know, the kid is so, and has been, and this is where church can be a dangerous thing. Faith, religion can be a dangerous thing. He thinks by putting this toddler on the cross will bring the toddler back to life. So I guess the toddler was already dead, and he wanted to bring the toddler back to life. And so he thought, Jesus, hey, worked with Jesus, should work with this kid. I mean, that's some pretty impressive kid logic, by the way, if we're being honest. The fact that the 6 or 7-year-old is like, you know what? I've seen this before. Yes. Okay. I know exactly what to do. Happened to Jesus. And to be frank, I'm surprised more people don't try this. And I know it's not funny. It's not funny. You shouldn't laugh at that, but like, there's a little bit of humor in there somewhere. A little dark humor, a little black comedy. But it seemed like it took this series a few episodes to get to Atlanta, which was it felt like the core of the series. So the first half, it was kind of like they're just kind of teasing Atlanta here and there. And the second half is like all Atlanta. And I wonder if maybe they would have been better served to just do, it felt like maybe a little too slow a burn into Atlanta. It felt like maybe the episode 1 and 2 you got to introduce Atlanta. I think you got to introduce like 3, maybe episode 3, like episode 1, mention it. Episode 2, he goes and then comes back. Episode 3, okay, go to Atlanta. I don't know. It almost felt like 2 different seasons to a certain extent, just because it like took them so long to get to Atlanta. And maybe that's a commentary on just how slow law enforcement and was back then. And the fact that this unit, the behavioral science unit, was so young and so new that they just didn't have a lot of faith in it. It was just like, well, whatever. I don't even know about this case. And that's what's so crazy, because I'm just coming off of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where, I'm vaguely familiar with the Manson murders, and I know that Manson murders were big time news, and that he's a huge figure, notorious figure in American history. And then you kind of find out what happened, and you're like, okay, well, I guess that's that way because no one's ever done that before. So in that respect, that's why it got so much notoriety. But this Atlanta thing, how is no one talking about this more than the Manson murders? Is it because there was a celebrity involved? And I know it's not, but like this Atlanta thing, I mean, it was like 20 some odd missing and murdered kids. Are you kidding me? And I guess the series tried to hammer home the point that it's because they were black. Like if these were white kids, it would have been, people would still be talking about it to this day. But the fact that it's black kids, I've never heard of it. And part of it, I guess, was because the city of Atlanta was trying to sweep it under the rug at the time. At least that's what the show said. But the fact that I've been on this earth almost 40 years, midlife crisis, and I haven't heard about this. This is the first time I'm hearing about these disappearances and these homicides. It's just like, that's bananas to me. But to me, the show, Bill Tench is the best character on the show. Holden Ford is kind of like, he's like a Rain Man type character. That's like, I understand he's very talented and smart. They've tried to kind of delve into, they teased possible romantic interest with the front desk clerk at the hotel. And you're like, okay, so now we're going to see this other side of him that we've never seen before. And then it was like, nope, psych. It was just an all ploy to get him to talk to the mothers of the disappeared children, which good on you, front desk clerk. But also the fact that I know that guy's gay. Holden Ford, the actor, I believe is gay. So, I'm not good at compartmentalizing, so it takes a second for me to be like, but he's gay. He's not straight, he's gay. It's just like, dude, that's an actor and that's a character. Gay can play straight. Straight can play gay. Blah, 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 blah. Unless you're Scarlett Johansson. And you're white trying to play an Asian character. Can't do it. Anyway, which I thought that was explored in was it Black Mirror? No. Oh, shit. That show, like noir, had the hot guy, good bod, weird bod, chest was weird, but like he's in a sleeve. Damn it, that sucks. Good show though. Yeah, it's like an Asian guy who dies, but then his consciousness is brought back into a white guy's body. And that happens with a lot of different people in the future. Like you'll be a certain identity, but then you're brought back into, they call it a sleeve, but it's a cloned body, and it could be a totally different race and ethnicity, but you have this identity, and it really fucked with your mind. Because I'm sure the cultural appropriation folks were like, just like couldn't even talk, they're just drooling and bleeding out of the eyes because they're like, oh my God. And, I know it's different, but it's just like, I'd love to see their reaction to that. At one point there's like, an old Hispanic woman, her consciousness is brought back into like a neo-Nazi's body. You're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I loved it, but good show. I don't know if they got great reviews. What the fuck was it called? I'll look it up and throw it in the description after the show. So anyway, back to this. Yeah. So the fact that I knew he's gay kind of took me out of it for a second. Then, it's just like, get over it. He's straight in the show. Get over it. But Bill Tench is I'd say it's Bill Tench and then Wendy Carr, the female doctor, who is kind of just like still stuck in the basement. I thought they did a tremendous job of kind of showing you what a glass ceiling looks like. It's not as in your face as a lot of TV shows and movies have made it out to be. Like, you're a woman, you can't do that. This one was like, no, but you do so good in the basement. You do so good in the basement. We need you in the basement. And kind of that subtle backhanded glass ceiling type maneuver. I thought they navigated that and portrayed it pretty cool, pretty well. But you get to see her private side, her personal side, how she's attracted to this bartender at this local hangout, and they hit it off. And she's the yin and the yang. Like, she's kind of this uptight, intellectual type person who's very rigid, emotionally, I guess you could say. And then you have the bartender who's very loosey-goosey, casual clothing, kind of just lounging on the couch, not sitting upright. Posture's different, mannerisms are different. But she also, I like that they gave her a nice little backstory and depth. And I don't know how much of this is based on real people, but like the fact that she had been married to a man and has a kid and has made the mistake of introducing her female love partner. I mean, this is the early 80s, so it's not present day where it's like, yeah, no one's going to be all up in arms about it. It's the early 80s where it's like, gay is a mental illness. So, I love that storyline. I thought that was great. So I'd say Bill Tench's storyline was incredible when he's like, the fact that he's this FBI guy who's profiling and trying to capture serial killers. And, the show is now positioning his son to like, is this nature versus nurture? He's adopted. He's not birth. They don't have anything genetically. Bill and his wife don't have anything that indicates any kind of prior family history, prone to violence, blah, blah, blah. Do the birth parents of the adopted kid, like, do they have something going on there? So, very interesting dichotomy and a challenge for Bill. And, I'm kind of like, it frustrates me. And this is probably why it's so, the writers succeed and the producers succeed in the way that they handled it. But Bill, just tell someone. It takes him a little bit to tell Wendy. It takes him way longer to tell Holden. And my guess is because Holden is more prone to jump towards just convicting the kid and condemning him and saying, yep, that's a serial killer. Whereas Wendy would be a little more open-minded and say, oh, Bill, I understand, and, we'll work through it together. But if I'm in Bill's shoes, I'm just telling everybody, Neal, God damn it, this meeting is at 2. Why are you 5 minutes late? My kid murdered a toddler, tried to crucify him in the cross. And then, it's like I immediately use that as an excuse. It's a major character flaw of mine. But that's also what makes Bill's journey during this series so awesome, is that he has tension and he's clenching about his deteriorating marriage with his wife, who thinks that work takes higher priority over the family, even though it's a one income household, folks. And this is what's so frustrating. And I understand the wife's position, Mrs. Tench, Sally, Natalie, one of those names. I understand, Karen. No, she wants equal say. She feels like she's not getting the say because she's not the one bringing in the income and he is. And, he's kind of brushing it off, but at the same time, he's not completely brushing off. It clings to him, it sticks to him. It's in the back of his head at all times. It's not as prominent as she would like it to be. And it's like, you don't know how much leeway you have, especially with, the FBI. It's not like you're working at I don't know, working at an intelligence agency. It's kind of hard to say, I don't want to catch that killer that we're hot on the trail of because my kid is maladaptive and asocial. It's like, okay. So that was, that was just heartbreaking to watch. That just every episode, it's getting worse and worse and worse to the point where she's like neglecting everything and takes up smoking, which Bill smokes like a chimney, which is just crazy. He's just like, I'm waiting for the episode where he just falls over and that's it. That's a wrap on Bill Tench. Cause it's like Scotch whiskey, thousands of cigarettes, wife who is just like all over you, and a kid that you like hope doesn't become a serial killer. It's like, yikes. There was a great quote that I had up and then my computer died. So maybe I'll read it at some other point. Probably not. But yeah, so it goes Bill Tench, who's, for me, he's the magnetic force for the show. And then you got Wendy and her new romance, which I liked to a certain extent. I didn't like her being so willing to throw away that relationship based on a conversation she overheard that was supposed to be private between the wife and the husband. And I kind of, the lover and her husband, I took the lover's side almost 100% because it's like, dude, that's how I talk to my husband to make sure that this can still happen. You start to mix the two and it's, we're not at that point yet. So I understood the lover side, and I understand why Wendy was hurt by it, for sure. I get it. But it wasn't, I don't know. That was tough to stomach. And the fact that she just threw it away. It was like, whoa, that is cold-blooded. Just shut it down. When did I get chills? There were 2 more scenes or moments where I was like, it felt like they were it just felt like they were dicking around most of the time. But the one plan, the one scene that really was just kind of off for the show, where it was Holden's plan. He wants to draw out the killer, right? This is I think episode 7-ish. And so they keep on not listening to Holden. They're like, Holden, shut up. We cannot pursue that. That has no tangible evidence, no logical ties. Like you might be right, but we can't pursue it. Blah, blah. We need to pursue the leads that make the most sense. And da. And so eventually Holden's like, I have a plan to draw out the killer. We're going to there's some kind of memorial happening. And he's like, let's turn it into, I guess that's not the word. parade, shouldn't use the word parade, but procession, where we're going to go to where all the bodies were discovered. I have a little memorial service at each one, which will lead to the church, blah, blah. This will draw out the killer because the killer will want to see, you know, because he's through these interviews with Son of Sam and Charles Manson. They actually interview Charles Manson, which I'll get into a little bit, but they know that, okay, the killers and Ed Kemper, the killers like to go back to the scene of the crime because they relive the a feeling of the rush or whatever, and they get some more satisfaction out of that. So he's like, the killer will come back because he wants to see the press. These killers, they always want to be famous and legendary and iconic, and they want the attention. They want to see what they caused. And so he's like, we're going to have this procession parade. But it's critical, and this is the point where I was like, I don't understand this, and I didn't understand the way it was shot. But like when he's like, we need these crucifixes or we need these crosses. I didn't understand the reasoning for it. I didn't understand why he was so flummoxed and flustered when he was like, that was a funny scene when he's trying to get shit done, and it's just like you see all the goddamn red tape that he has to go through, and you're like, like that is very relatable. And they got the perfect guy to be like, the guy's like, ooh, yeah, sorry. He's like straight out of Office Space. But so he eventually gets the crosses. They make the crosses, and he is hurrying to get the cross to the last point, which is the church. And the way that they shot this, it was just very weird. It was like, kind of like Natural Born Killers, like tilted camera, like coloring was off. It was completely inconsistent with the rest of the show. And I don't understand the meaning of it. And I'd love to know. I'd love to go to like on Reddit or something like that and just see like, here's why they did that. Because I have no idea. I don't get it. And the fact that he rushes and he hurries up the steps, and like the mothers can see him doing this, and he plops the cross down on the top of the stairs of the church. And he looks and he sees the mother, and the mother's almost like, dude, what in the holy hell are you doing? Like, what is this doing? This is just a show to you. Like, how is this cross? Like, that's going to be the determining factor. And what made it even more bizarre is they never address it again. Like, what? What? It just like never comes up again. And I understand, like, that's what makes a great story is you have these hurdles, you have these challenges, and you have the protagonist trying to get through those, and they fail and they fail and they fail until they succeed. I just didn't understand the significance of the cross, the importance of getting it down at that time, and like how it ultimately, I don't know. And they never brought it up again. Kind of weird. And the other part where I got chills was whenever they when they have all these guys stationed on all these bridges, and they're going over budget, and it's like, this is our last night. And of course, like last night, the suspect, one of the rookies hears the splash, and then the suspect drives away off the bridge at like 3 a.m. and it's like, they pull him over. And of course, whenever they say your first, your middle, and your last name, there's only like 3 times when you ever hear your first, your middle, and your last name. One, when you were a kid and you were in trouble. Neal David Lynch, get down off that couch right now. Okay, that's one. Number 2, when you graduate from high school or college. Neal David Lynch. And then you get your diploma and you do a cartwheel, whatever, you toss your hat. 3rd time is when you are a suspected serial killer. Those are the 3 times when you hear your full name. As soon as they said that guy, when they pull out the guy from the white station wagon or whatever, and they're like, William Button, and this is sad, I don't even remember his name. Charles Manson, always remember his name, don't remember this guy's name. And this guy, in my opinion, is more sinister. Fucking kids, man. And when they say his first, middle, and last name, I'm like, yep, serial killer. That's the guy. You can't say, and maybe that's a great way to take someone down, like your mortal enemies, your arch rivals, is to be like, Neal David Lynch, you know what you did. And everyone's like, holy shit, he used his middle name. He's definitely real bad. Yeah. So, and it's sad to figure out to find out what actually happened in real life with that the guy got rung up on 2 separate murders of adults or something like that. And he got life, but it was like, there was always like this wink and a nod, like, well, but he probably did the other kids. He probably did all the kids, but do the mothers get justice? Not really. I mean, they do and they don't. I mean, it stopped happening when they arrested him and put him in jail. So it seems like logic would dictate, okay, they got the right guy. In the back of your head, you got to think, yeah, they got the right guy, but it's not official. You can't officially say it. So I understand how that can be such a pain in the dick. Well, I'll leave you with this. This is the one quote which just sums up men versus women, in my opinion. And I know it's going to, sexist, whatever. Okay, cool. I'm sexist. When Holden is leaving the restaurant with the mothers of the disappeared children, and the lead mother, who her glasses threw me off the whole friggin' show. I think they finally got it under control towards the end, but like at the beginning of the show, when she's first introduced and every scene afterwards, her glasses are humongous. And they take up her like half her face and they're reflecting everything. And it's just like she moves around and you're just like, am I in a disco? What's going on here? She kind of, that's just a tough spot to be in. I'm not criticizing her at all. I will criticize her for this, though. This was kind of effed. When Holden was leaving the restaurant and she's like, take a cornbread on the way out. And he's like, all right, he must have been like, all right, yeah, we're connecting. Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, we're bonding. You see that I'm a human. I see that you're a human. We're working together. This is beautiful. Take a cornbread on the way out. Yes, I will take a cornbread on the way out. And then she goes, that'll be $1. Oh, gotcha. Got him. Wow. That'll be $1. That is a woman move right there. Strong woman move. Take a cornbread on the way out. That'll be $1. Hey, are you hungry? Yeah, I am hungry. All right, well, the food's in the fridge. Well, fuck you then. Hey, you want a beer? Yeah, I'll have a beer. It's in the cooler. Dude,